I'm so happy to see a large group of people showing up again, and we thought we'd lose lots of you. I know some of our elders are really, really tired from yesterday, but I'm happy to see so many beautiful, beautiful faces here this morning. Wow. I hope you guys all had a wonderful time yesterday. Lots of visiting still happening, which is really, really good to see. We actually do have, somebody was asking this morning, which is a really good thing to know. We have a room because I was reminding people we just came back from a Mitzvah festival, and it was our Mitzvah conference, not a festival. Everything's a festival. And they had a place for visiting so people can reconnect. We do have a room set up for that, so don't feel like you have to come. Like, it'd be good to participate in some of the breakout sessions, but that's also one of the rooms. Before I get too long-winded and forget about the program like I did yesterday, I just want to welcome everybody back, and let's keep healing, keep on that healing journey, and keep working on ourselves. And we have lots of breakout sessions. But before I get to, we have some greetings that we would like, they're going to be on the screen. So we have some people that are sending us their greetings. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jordan. Our own little Miss Vanna White. You want to stand up, Jordan, and give a wave? Sis, koap mawaw, iwah ko makana. Moatsin tukdin. Sa sipihtam. You're ready to go. Technical difficulties, yeah? Okay. President Cassidy Karen. Métis National Council. I would have said Métis National Chief. Wow. Are we having some technical difficulties? I can tell a quick story. Yeah? We must be having. Anyways, while we're waiting for our Métis National Council president to get unfrozen. Yesterday, I was observing it's so wonderful to see all the families, all the different islands of Ile-a-Crosse. Anyways, I was observing people from up here where they're connected, like the gardeners were here today. So they're sick of each other, so they dispersed to other people now. One day is good enough. And then we had the Morans in that corner. And that's what I was observing yesterday. And I hope they don't mind me sharing the story. I just thought it was so cute and beautiful. You have Bridget and Thelma, Marina, Floyd, Poxis. So Thelma Morin was sitting there, and all of a sudden, it's so cute. You know, they were talking about we didn't say I love you back in the day. We didn't really have to say that. From what I witnessed yesterday, Floyd Morin reached behind the Marina's back and Thelma was sitting there and flicked her hair. Wow, that's love. You know, because she is the baby of the family, and you know that feels really special. That for me is saying that, you know, hinsi mis sagihitin, waksa ni gagwitis. That was really special to see little things like that. Did we unfreeze? Kuya sa doya maduat sumupap mawaw. Maureen Belanger is the best MC. We need to get her for every upcoming event from now on. Make sure that you pay her at least $10,000 every time she speaks. You guys didn't know I was a lip reader? Sana pa kami madwit-wit. And yesterday was a really, really wonderful day.
Ile-a-Crosse Survivors Committee, thank you for the advocacy work that Tante Kioao, hello to my friends and relatives present today, community and provincial leadership, and to those who I have not had the pleasure of meeting with yet. My name is Cassidy Karen. I'm the Métis National Council President. My family comes from St. Louis and Batoche, Saskatchewan, and I'm so sorry that I couldn't be with you all today in person and over the weekend for this really incredibly important gathering. Over the next 3 days, you're going to be participating in a number of information sessions and discussions on a topic and file that is critical to move forward with together in the Métis Nation. It's important for you, all of our future generations, and to those Métis children who did not return home after residential schools. Thank you to the Métis Nation Saskatchewan for all of your work on this file and the support that you provide to survivors and intergenerational survivors. And to the Ile-a-Crosse Survivors Committee, thank you for the advocacy work that you do and that you have done for so many years. I was incredibly fortunate to attend a meeting of the committee last week to better understand the areas in which the Métis National Council can directly support and advance advocacy on the recognition of the Ile-a-Crosse School and, more generally, support for Métis survivors. I look forward to this continued collaboration through your committee. In October of last year, a resolution was carried unanimously, declaring that the Métis National Council's formal support for the survivors of the Ile-a-Crosse and Timber Bay boarding schools who have been unjustly ignored by the provincial and federal governments, and that there's an urgent need for meaningful recognition and settlement for Métis survivors and their families as more survivors are lost each year. And also that it is in the interest of justice and consistent with Canada's jurisdictional responsibility to the Métis that Canada seek a mandate to settle the outstanding claim relating to Ile-a-Crosse and other Métis boarding schools or day schools that have been excluded from recognition by provincial and federal governments. I am committed to supporting and advancing this file alongside you at the national level here in Ottawa in any capacity available to us at the Métis National Council. Thank you again for all of that you do, each and every one of you. I hope you have a productive and meaningful experience this weekend. Marcy, take care.
To Ottawa now, NDP MP Blake Desjardins challenged the Trudeau government Thursday over the issue of students who went to the Ile-a-la-Crosse residential school, an institution run by the province of Saskatchewan and not the federal government. Desjardins asked when students will be compensated.
Generations of Métis and First Nations children were stolen from their homes and forced to attend Canada's horrific residential schools, including the Ile-a-La-Crosse residential school in Saskatchewan. But despite the violence, terror, and neglect experienced, survivors have been denied the justice, recognition, and compensation they deserve. Instead of breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma, the Liberals are fighting the survivors in court. Shameful. When will this government finally commit to justice for the Ile-a-La-Crosse residential school survivors before it's too late?
The Honourable Minister for Crown Indigenous Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And indeed, it is a disgrace that these survivors have not been compensated up to now. Clearly, and I sat down with a number of them this summer at Batoche and had the opportunity to hear the pain that they continue to be going through, are re-triggered by a number of the settlements that we're achieving across Canada. But these survivors deserve justice. Unfortunately, the government of Saskatchewan has not acted up to this date, and it needs to be at the table with us. These were administered by the government of Saskatchewan. It needs to be held accountable. Reconciliation is not only the job of the federal government, which is to be held to account, but for all levels of government, and we need the government of Saskatchewan.
Here.
Okay, so we showed you those clips just to let you know that the fight and the battle has been ongoing and continues to be ongoing with the political parties saying, well, this one should be paying, that one should be paying. But this is what these gatherings like we have here this morning, it's absolutely wonderful because I'm sure we'll get motivated, pumped up. You know, why are people waiting for politicians to do this? So this is a really awesome gathering that we're having to begin to address and see that there are people fighting on our behalf. We're not going to be left behind much longer. Oh, Dwayne, there you are, my Alphonse, right on cue. But so it shows that there is support out there and people are talking about our situation, and hopefully we will get some action soon because we have suffered long, we have suffered alone, and this gathering is the first time that we are actually coming together to share our experiences. But just to show you that there is support out there. Well, I was going to mention something else here, but I can't remember now. Okay, Blake Desjardins. Una kwan he wahkumeo kahkioli se Ile-a-la-Crosse se wahkumiwak. I guess we had some greetings also this morning, is my understanding. No? Okay. No indigo. Greetings from Martin Corrigal. So lots of stories, lots of healing. Our healing is going to be happening through stories. I just have one more quick story I want to share with you. 4 o'clock this morning, I woke up just like somebody just shook me up and woke me up. Well, first of all, my legs were spazzing, probably all that dancing I tried to do. And then I realized, you know, I've never publicly acknowledged where I come from. Well, I have. I always say I'm from Ile-a-Crosse, La Puente Tram, but I've never ever showed you guys my beautiful family I have with me here today. The only one I have with me is my sister Cheryl, Nipawe's sister. Yagwana niene misigwan stisak ni sumino tagiawak. Is Molly Kipling back in the room? No. And Tommy Kipling. So those are my family. And I also had 2 other brothers, Rod, my oldest brother, and my sister Antoinette Desjardins. And I noticed her 2 beautiful daughters just rolled in. Vaughn and Debbie, give a wave. Nipawik. This is my family. Yesterday when I was up here, it was a really long day and sometimes my energy fell. I'd look over at that corner and I'd see my family there. Then I got motivated again. They do give, that's what inspires me and keeps me moving on is my family, the support I have. Anyways, with that, I was going to tell one more little funny story. And I'm sorry I'm picking on you, Floyd, but you know, growing up a long time ago, we had families. My family I just introduced, but this clan here, the Morin clan, is my family in my eyes. The Gardners are my family. I grew up when we used to go visit my Uncle George Kipling at the river. We hung out with the Gardners. Then we'd go to their island, the Morin family. And then Mike DeRocher was here yesterday. Is he still here? No? Oh, right on. So I'm going to talk, and no offense, but this is how, so we grew up across the lake, me and boy, Kui Zoom, I couldn't remember her nickname. We were really, really good friends because we're about the same age. I won't tell them how old we are. So we go play all day long in the morning. Then we'd be thrown out all day, not physically, of course, but we had the whole island to explore. That's where Dora the Explorer came from. All day, so we'd go hunt, we'd go by the lake. It was just a magical moment. But that one day we got hungry. It was late afternoon. And I'm sure it was Floyd. To this day, I know it was Floyd. And Grujini, we called her, but I don't know what her, you know, that's how people address, right? No offense. These are nicknames that we grew up with. She had a beautiful garden, real beautiful garden. Kisksin Floyd. And we were all getting hungry. Oh my good Lord, Floyd says, Yan gantili korot. I saying the carrots had already had their green little sprout there. And there was barbed wire and a fence where we crawled in. We're eating the carrots, dirt and all. Oh my God, she probably discovered that big patch missing there. We got home that evening. Leon Moura, Clara, and Marianne Kipling stood there. We knew we were in trouble. They asked, who stole the carrots? Floyd mo. Kanda orange Kim for all of us. But anyways, that's it's about families, you know, a long time ago. That's how close we were. And like I said, that's an extension of my family right here. Okay, we're moving on with the program. Jordan, are we ready for our communication to create awareness? Okay, so we're gonna show the video, and then we're gonna have a little break. No. Nobody's having a break. Let's, they just finished. Okay, here's our video first, and we'll see how long that takes. This is called Telling Your Story.
Hello, Otanse. We are not a video, but we are live and in person, and we were actually waiting for the video too. But we are Matt and Crystal from Indigenous Geographic, and we are going to do a presentation where we've been actually doing a little bit of documentary filmmaking, and we've got a lot of exciting projects. We've been working with the Ile-a-Crosse survivors. We're going to talk about our work and some of the plans that we have, and yeah, so maybe I'll start. So good morning, Tanse, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Lemay. It's a pleasure to be here in Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. My name is Matt Lemay. I'm a documentary filmmaker and co-founder of Indigenous Geographic, whose Métis family roots are in the Red River, Drummond Island, and Penetanguishene. I live in Pembroke, Ontario, in unceded Algonquin, Ontario, located about an hour and a half north of Ottawa in the Ottawa Valley, right on the Ottawa River. I'm a self-taught filmmaker and been making documentaries for over 14 years. I've made about 35 documentaries, always with a strong reconciliation focus and the environment. And I've been just thrilled to have spent the last couple of weeks. I visited Ile-a-la-Crosse a couple of weeks ago. We did a lot of filming there. We're working with survivors. We're going to be here for the next 2 days capturing stories. And if you want to share your story, we're here to capture it. So, and maybe I'll turn it over to Crystal. Oh, do you want to use?
Can you hear me? Oh, it's on already. Udlakut, uvanga Crystal Martin, senarayak nunabub mutak sa yaw yunga. Inu yungat daw, kuyan namig tamonga tunga suktitaw gun nakama. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Crystal Martin. I'm Inuk, originally from Senarayak Nunavut, and I am a co-founder of Indigenous Geographic with Matt LeMay. I also live in unceded and unsurrendered territories of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe. Just very quickly, so Matt and I have sat on a board together for a number of years, a school board actually, the population where we live for Métis and Inuit is actually very large. It's just not recognized or represented properly. And so Matt and I have sat on this board to ensure that Métis and Inuit students and families feel recognized, heard, and are being supported as well, those students. We had an opportunity to work together where I was working on this entrepreneurship program and doing host videos. So I hired Matt to do the videos for me, and I was hosting, and we just kind of clicked from there. We talked about a lot of underrepresentation of Inuit and Métis communities. And we felt that those stories are so important, and we need to help to amplify that in some way. And this is where Indigenous Geographic came in. We started talking about climate change and the impacts of climate change in Inuit communities within the circumpolar region. And then we started talking about residential schools and the stories that need to be heard about Inuit and Métis experiences. And so we've been running it for a year, but it's been 2 years in the making. And like Matt had said, we're here, we're doing interviews today. So if at any point you'd like to be part of it, we'd be more than happy to have a chat with anyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. So our goal for today is originally when we were asked to, we knew we were going to be here because we were going to be documenting stories, but when we were originally asked to be a part of the conference in a formal capacity, we were going to do some workshops and communication workshops, how to really tell your story effectively on camera workshops. But we realized that if we were doing workshops all day, we wouldn't actually be able to capture the story. So we're kind of treating this as one big workshops. And what we're going to do is we're going to share some tips and tricks in terms of really being comfortable and being able to share your stories really effectively on camera. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the work that we're engaged in. We actually have two examples. We have a trailer for the documentary that we're working on the Ile-a-Crosse story that we're going to show this morning. We actually also have a very specific video campaign that a lot of the survivors have been participating in, geared towards decision makers. And we're going to show that a little bit later as well. But one of the things that I've realized is that as we've been sitting down, we've probably done about 20 survivor interviews so far, and everybody in Ile-a-Crosse does not need media training. You are all professionals. I don't even really need to ask questions. You've really been, it's been a master class in storytelling, but we've already prepared the presentation, so we're going to go ahead and go with it. One of the things I think it's important to think about when you're talking about communication, it's changed so much, not only in the last 50 years, but in the last 5 years, and it's going to continue to evolve. And I think of Robert up at the Ile-a-Crosse radio station when we were interviewing him. And Robert's been doing community radio since 1976. You know, and as you know, he's a master at his craft. But his world, I was thinking about, has changed. And I saw Robert yesterday at the front of the stage with a cell phone, taking, he's on Facebook. Like the level of communication today is completely different. It's going to continue to evolve. But one of the really exciting things is video is a really key important in terms of all of the different platforms platforms. We're not actually going to get into a lot of the different platforms. We're going to leave that to Blackbird Strategies. That's going to be coming up a little bit later. But we're going to really focus on the video content. But it's going to continue to evolve, and you just have to roll with it. But the exciting thing is there's such an opportunity to tell your story. And using a lot of these platforms and using video really effectively, you're going to be able to engage with the next generation of Métis youth, but also non-Indigenous youth from across Canada and really around the world. And that's what this technology is enabling us to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to do that.
And just to add as well, as Indigenous peoples, we are storytellers, and we're oral storytellers as well. So any kind of history, any kind of traditions and practices has been passed down from generation to generation through storytelling. And one of the things that we really look to amplify is that oral aspect and that traditional way of our cultures, is looking at how film can really amplify that. And there are a lot of times as well where some folks may not be comfortable telling, family members, friends, or community members directly in person about their experiences or about their traditions or, some of the practices and things, because it can be intimidating. But if you can capture that on film, it gives you that opportunity to do it privately, one-on-one or one-on-two kind of thing, and be able to help to provide that traditional knowledge and intergenerational knowledge from one generation to the next.
Cool. Excellent. So, yeah, we'll go to that one. So this is just 5 different ways that storytelling can help shape policy. And we're really aiming to do this with all of the video work we're engaged with right now, from obviously creating awareness. I really became aware of the Ile-a-la-Crosse story last summer. And Minister Miller, actually, he was referring to that meeting in Batoche that he was at with survivors. I was actually invited by Métis Nation of Saskatchewan Vice President Michelle Leclerc and Jordan Burnoff to attend that meeting. And I actually filmed it and captured it. And that was actually the first time I really was exposed to your story and the injustices that you have been exposed to for over the last 20 years and longer. And since then, I think it's been a real passion, for the two of us in terms of really helping you amplify their stories. And that's what we're doing now. Informing policy development. That's one of the really interesting things about using social media effectively. That when we talk about traditional media, when you had radio and television, newspaper, it was always a one-way conversation. Now, as everyone knows, it comes back. Everybody's a critic, but it's a wonderful way to put pressure on the government to actually invoke policy change, as well as to, shape the future of outcomes and really gain support from, different communities across the homeland and across Canada. Obviously, promoting reconciliation is another one, inspiring action, and really, building community and gathering people together and being able to do that. I'm just kind of curious, actually, how many people in the room here use Facebook? Can you just put your hands up?
Ole.
Oh, there you go. There you go. How many people here use Instagram? Excellent. How about TikTok? Not bad. I'm not quite there with TikTok yet. Twitter? All right, we got some heavy tweets from this side. What else am I missing? LinkedIn, that's kind of a weird one, but if anyone's looking for jobs, I guess. Excellent. LinkedIn's cool. I use it as well. Okay, wonderful. The videos that we're actually going to be producing, we're going to be able to roll out across all of these platforms, reaching an enormous audience. And that's one of the really exciting things. And I think, it's a great way to build community to, I nearly knocked over a glass of water, which is a real pro move as a speaker, but terrific. Did Crystal leave anything on?
Yeah, I just wanted to add for, I'm Inuk, coming from Nunavut, and one of the ways that I actually engage with a lot of community members is through Facebook. Everything is put on Facebook. If you're having a community gathering, it's on Facebook. If there's an event, it's on Facebook. All of the information that you want to get out to the community is often found on Facebook, which is very surprising. But it's one way that we have been able to utilize. We still put up posters at like the Northern or the co-op, you know, just in case for those that aren't using social media. But the way that we've been able to kind of adapt to the current times is using Facebook as a way of keeping connected and keeping community members informed. And so using the social media platforms, it helps to amplify some of the stories as well for Indigenous peoples.
Excellent. So as I mentioned, I really started to learn about the Ile-a-La-Crosse story. I learned a little bit about it before in Rome. I was actually selected to be part of the Métis delegation, the secondary delegation that traveled to Rome to meet the Pope. I got a chance to travel with my friend Anne and my friend Emile, and I got to know them very well. And we spent a lot of time, and it was a really, really, really surreal week. It's taken me almost a year to mentally unpack what that week was all about. And so I mean, we had dinner together, meals together every day, and Anne and Emile really, you know, talked to me about their experiences and what it was like. And it was a lot for us going through that week together. I don't think we were prepared for, you know, the media, the attention, all of that was happening, but we really stuck together when we got through it. And we're actually, Crystal and I are working on a documentary film called The Apology. And it's a documentary film that focuses on the papal trip and really what did that apology mean. And so I was fortunate enough to travel to and follow the Ile-a-La-Crosse survivors across the papal Canadian trips in the past summer and document that. And that's also going to be a part of the documentary. Well, we both have an interesting lens. Crystal, actually, maybe I'll let you talk a little bit about your experience in the papal visit as well.
Sure. So Matt and I were actually in the works of following the apology. And so Matt was heading to Rome, and we were both hoping that we could make Rome. But what ended up happening was that I was contacted by our national Inuit organization, Inuit Tapariq Kanadami, ITK, to plan the entire Inuit event for Iqaluit during the papal visit. So we were only given 6.5 weeks of planning for the Pope to come to Iqaluit and to also ensure that Inuit survivors participated in the apology in Alberta. So we had the opportunity to really capture what was happening in the background and being able to really have that opportunity to hear from survivors directly, to hear from our Indigenous leaders directly, and to also hear what the church had to say and how they approached the papal visit to Canada. It was extremely challenging working with the church. And it took a lot, I think, of fight to get to where we were for the Inuit participation and Inuit event in Iqaluit. But we were able to capture a lot of the background. So Matt flew, he was on a charter from Edmonton to Iqaluit. He flew with the Inuit survivors, so he was able to get the experiences of the survivors on that journey. I think what's really important to highlight as well is the apology that we're working on is Métis and Inuit experiences. I think it's really important that we're amplifying our experiences because we're often watered down because of how much smaller our population is in Canada. But we're really trying to ensure that we're creating these spaces for survivors to be heard and to bring justice to our survivors as well.
Thanks, Crystal. And one of the interesting things about the documentary, we've been working on it for about a year. We've only have 2/3 of it filmed. The last act or the last part of the documentary we're actually going to film this summer. And we actually, if there's any Ile-a-La-Crosse survivors that would like to participate, what we really want to do in the third act is focus on what comes next. What does the church have to do? What is their responsibilities? What have they done since the papal visit? And what needs to happen from your perspective? And so that's going to to be the last chapter that we're going to be filming this summer. So there will be opportunities if people are interested in participating in that as well. That's a story that's yet to be finished, and we're really looking forward to that. And we're hoping to have it done by the fall of this year, so we'll be able to play it. But it's been a very interesting road, to have walked with some of you, and I think many of you actually. And we'll see where it all goes. So enough talking. Now we're going to play a video. So this is a trailer for a documentary. We are joined here by our colleague Kaylee Kay, who's sitting over there. Kaylee and I had the opportunity to actually attend a press conference that was the launch of this campaign a couple of weeks ago in Saskatoon, and then we had a chance to visit Ile-a-la-Crosse for a week and interview many survivors. And then we were on the road last week doing some more work. So this is a trailer just to give you a kind of a sense of the work that we're doing, because one of the things that we've heard at a lot of the meetings, what in the past there's been interviews that have been done that have been taking place and they haven't gone anywhere, and they've kind of disappeared into the ether. And we want to assure you that to us, your stories are extremely important. We're using them. This is kind of an example, and we're going to illustrate, how we're going to use them. But all the stories that we're doing are also going to come back to the community, so you'll have all the master files. But without that, why don't we? Do we know how to get this?
Ile-a-Crosse is the second oldest community in Western Canada. It will be, in 2026, 250 years old. The Ile-a-Crosse Residential School is one of the oldest schools in Canada. So when you think about that and you put it into context, over 100 years and 6 to 7 generations of harm in that school. And it didn't just affect Ile-a-Crosse. You look to our communities in Northwest Saskatchewan and you see the harm. You see the suicides. You see the abuse of drugs and alcohol. You see beautiful, beautiful communities, but you see the loss of language, the loss of culture, the grieving for the land. That was as a result of this residential school that has not been acknowledged.
We lost our parents back then. Our parents lost their children, and so a lot of them became alcoholics. Thank God there was no drugs those days, but there was a lot of alcohol that went around the community. That impacted all of us, my parents, my brothers, myself.
It was hard because they gave us numbers. They didn't know their name. I used to like going to school. I wanted to learn, but not to be treated mean and beat up or screamed at all the time inside the boarding school.
Traditional way of life was taken away from us. We didn't know how to hunt. We didn't know how to fish. We didn't know how to trap. We didn't know how to skin a weasel, a muskrat, a rabbit. We didn't know how to cook anything that was traditional.
I mean, this has been an ongoing conversation for decades. And when I worked with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we heard this over and over again around how the Ile-a-Crosse boarding school was not included in the settlement agreement. The commissioners of the TRC said this is a barrier to reconciliation, that these survivors are not being treated equally or fairly, and that needs to happen before we can further reconciliation in this country. And so here we are, we fast forward, it's, how many years since the TRC issued its final report, 7, 8 years now, and we're still in that situation. And for us to have full reparations for reconciliation, the Ile-a-Crosse boarding school needs to be recognized, and these survivors need to be compensated.
We've taken steps forward in making sure that people understand that Métis did go to residential school and that there is still so much more work to do. However, in actual, like I say, tangible actions towards justice, we still have a lot of work to do.
So that is just a section. We've done over 20 interviews, long interviews, and as I said, you know, the survivors from Ile-a-la-Crosse are master storytellers. So we have lots and lots of amazing footage, lots and lots of amazing interviews that are going to go into the longer documentary, and we're going to be getting ready on that and working really hard on it. So we're going to move a little bit quickly through the slides because we have another video that we want to see, and it's probably more interesting than listening to us talk about, you know, explaining video stuff. But it's really, really important, and I mentioned this before, that we capture your stories. You know, this is history. This is your community's history. This is the nation's history. This is Canada's history. And, you know, your stories need to be treated with that kind of respect. And there's so many things that we can do once we've captured your stories. We can transcribe them into books. We can create all kinds of different kinds of educational materials. I know when I was interviewing Louis yesterday, we talked about the importance of educating young children about the history in a age appropriate fashion, in a culturally appropriate way. We can do those kinds of things with these interviews moving forward. So, and I'll just put it out there again. If you want to talk to us, we're here today to capture your stories. And I should also mention that the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation is also here today, and they're doing stories as well. They're doing longer form stories. That are going to be part of, you know, their archive, but they're here capturing stories as well, and they're downstairs located right next to us. So these are just a couple of tips. I'm going to go quickly through these because we have another video I want to show you. And as I said, you know, just a couple of things to think about when you're doing an interview, if you decide to sit down in the chair with us. One of the biggest things that we like to, and I'm guilty of this, if you're a hand talker, one of the biggest things people like to do is they like to pull a Celine Dion and hit their microphone. And so if you happen to come down and talk to us and you're a hand talker, we'll talk to you about this before. The one thing you really have to do is make sure you don't hit your microphone. And that's one of the pro tips that we like to share with everybody that's thinking about doing this. And I don't think we had any microphone slappers yesterday, which was great. So so we'll hope that trend continues. These are just some more tips and tricks, and we can actually make this slide deck available to Jordan and her team if they want to put it on their website as a resource, if you want to look at any of these kinds of things. But I'm not going to read these, but, you know, it's basically, I think it's important to remember that, you know, a lot of these memories can bring back triggers, and we do have wonderful mental health supports available throughout the conference. And it's always important to remember that you're in control of these interviews. If you don't feel like going forward, don't. Stop, take a breath, have a glass of water, shut it down. That's all okay. And that's, I think, something that's really, really important to remember when you're doing interviews, is that you're in complete control. And if something doesn't feel right, stop. And I do that as well when I'm actually doing interviews. I think it's okay, and it's going to make everybody's life a little bit easier during the course of that. So never be afraid to stop in an interview. Method to the madness. This was actually Jordan's turn of phrase. And really what this is, it's really important when you think about when you're doing a video strategy, you've got to be, there's so many different platforms and so many different ways to engage with people today. You have to be very strategic about your approach. And our friends from Blackbird are going to take the stage in a few minutes, and they're going to talk to you about the communication strategy that they're involved in. And having great content is important, but you want to make sure that it's making an impact and the right people are seeing it. So, and that's, you've got to be very strategic. What platforms, what goes here, what goes there, and they are experts in that field. So they're going to run that down in terms of how they're going to use the assets we're doing. The Ile-a-Crosse dock that you saw, we actually have a few places it's going to live, because everyone wants to know where are we going to see this. obviously YouTube, Vimeo, social media, Facebook. It's going to be on the website. We work with a company called McIntyre Media. They've been around since the 1960s. They're Canada's premier distribution agent of educational video, and they've agreed to put this documentary out to schools across the country in September, and it reaches over 3 million students and educators across the country, and they're going to do that. So the next generation of young people are going to hear your story. If that's something that the survivors want to do, and after we're done with the film and you have a look at it, you can make that decision in terms of that's the way you want to go, but there are options like that to make sure. And that's okay. Advocacy and tools. One of the things that we want to do is, when we first started thinking about this documentary, we need to put the pressure on the Premier of Saskatchewan. We need to put the pressure on the Prime Minister of Canada. There seems to be a lot of back and forth about who's responsible for what, and this reminds me of kind of the work that Dr. Cindy Blackstock was engaged with Jordan Principal when they were fighting over healthcare jurisdictions, and it needs to stop. I think both, I'm not a lawyer, I'm the furthest thing from a lawyer, but I think both of these parties have a role to play, and they both need to step up in a big way. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure through our advocacy efforts that the Prime Minister and his cabinet and the Premier and his cabinet see these videos. And Kimberly Murray has also made a commitment to use it in her work. So those are all great ways to use these tools as an advocacy tool. Maybe we'll just go to the... Okay, so this is a new, one of the things that we did, so we did long form videos with people, but we came up with an idea to really engage young people and youth, not just young people, but all the Instagram users, all the TikTok users, all the Facebook story users. And what we did after the interviews, we had all the survivors look directly into the camera, and they had 1 minute to tell the Prime Minister or the Premier of Saskatchewan what they need to do about the Ile-a-la-Crosse story, and some very powerful storytelling came out of this. We've strung a couple of these together, so it's a longer video, but we're gonna separate them into separate videos, and this is gonna be a social media campaign that we're gonna roll out, and we're gonna do more of these today. And I think this is a very, very powerful way to build support and also really put some pressure on the decision makers so they will come to the table and do what needs to be done. So let's roll this.
Prime Minister Trudeau, why can't you recognize the fact that I'm a human being, that I am a Métis, that I am a residential school survivor? Why can't you recognize that? You're the boss of Canada. So all you have to do is just say, yes, recognize these people, but you can't. When are we going to be recognized as people? When are we going to be recognized as students that we were taken away? As students that we never, ever were able to recuperate the way life should have been. I should have been a hunter, a fisher, a trapper. Maybe I could have been a doctor if I could have kept on going to school. But you didn't prepare me. Once you got me there and did what you had to, you went to grade 9, that's good enough. That's good enough for you. You're educated now. But no, I was not educated. Instead, I became uncivilized. I ran around when I come out of there. I didn't know what to do. I ran around like a little dog, like a little animal, wondering, where am I going to go? That's what you did to me, Trudeau. Are you going to fix that? When are you going to fix it? And how are you going to fix it? That's what I got to say. Thank you so much.
So, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, you were up in Ile-a-la-Crosse a few years ago, and I remember on Facebook that you had somebody texting and saying that you were up there. And I texted a little message and I said, you know what, while you're in the north, close to Ile-a-la-Crosse, why don't you zip by and visit with us? And whoever was texting didn't really give me an answer, didn't really say anything. So I'm saying to you again, come and visit us. Come and experience Ile-a-la-Crosse. You're French. We have French ancestry. Come and tell us what your life was like as a child, and we'll tell you our story, face to face, not through TV and not through this. Come to Ile-a-la-Crosse. Come visit us. Eat our food. we will welcome you.
So those are just two examples of many, and we have, I think, 13 or 14 of them done already. And as you can tell, it's very powerful storytelling. There's you have no more powerful voice powerful tool to use than your voice. And so we're here to amplify that. And I think we've run out of time. So thank you so much for listening today and being a part of this. And we look forward to working with anybody that wants to work with us today. We're going to be around, so come and flag us down. We'd love to record your story. And I think we're going to invite Blackbird Strategies up to the stage to take over. So thank you so much, Marcy.
Good morning. My name is Bonnie Leask. I'm a member of the Muskeg Lake Cree Nation, and I work at Blackbird Strategies, and I'm here with my colleague Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Speroni. I'm honored to be a guest here in Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis Nation. I'm originally from Ottawa, Ontario, where I live and work currently.
So I'm a little nervous. Whenever I do communications, I'm always kind of in the back, behind the scenes, typing, writing, catching different information, and then helping build strategies. I'm not normally in front of a microphone, so pardon me. So Blackbird is a full service PR/GR firm, which means we're public relations and government relations. And what we find is that when dealing with government, there's a way to communicate, like they don't communicate normally. They have a language in which they adopt. And what we do is we take that language and we communicate it to government.
Yep. So we had the honor of preparing the communication strategy for the Ile-a-la-Crosse communications push that went alongside the lawsuit. So we had that extreme honor of putting that together and really focusing on the different audiences, as you see on the screen, but making sure that we're getting your message clear and concisely out to those different audiences, specifically focusing on that government piece, because we're really pushing the government to get to the table. So we have a full team in Ottawa who work with us, making sure that happens. So that example of Blake Desjardins asking that question in question period, that's because of some hard work behind the scenes that our team has done to ensure that Blake is fully briefed up on this, knows what to say, knows how to say it. So we're really happy to support you on that. We are not going to take much of your time. We want to open this up to questions. So we're just going to quickly go through the audiences and then we'll open it up to the floor.
So my background, I've worked in both First Nation and Métis spaces with different leaders from across Canada. And one of the things that I have found over my career is that we're the best communicators. Indigenous people are the best communicators. We're funny, we're direct, and we get information across. So when we're doing an internal, and when I say internal audience, I mean speaking to each other. Not kind of outside of our community. So when we do those internal communication strategies, we really look at what resonates and how we communicate. Earlier, Matt asked how many people are on Facebook. First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people are the highest users in Canada of Facebook. It is our key platform to use. So we build campaign strategies around Facebook. And now the kids are getting younger. I'm not getting younger, but the kids are, and they're using different tools. And so the attention span changes when you're dealing with these platforms. So we build according to that. The external audience is everybody outside of Ile-a-Crosse. That idea of the Saskatchewanians, the Canadians, because there is a little bit of understanding about residential schools. I wouldn't say a whole lot among the non-Indigenous population. They're starting to come to terms with it. They're starting to realize that there were injustices, and now they're starting to learn about the Métis experience, particularly in Northwest Saskatchewan. And then finally, there's a government audience, and that's a really strategic way to communicate about what's going on. My colleague Stephanie mentioned Blake Desjardins. doing the QP, I used to work with Gary Morasti when he was the MP. And I remember when Jeremy Harrison went to the media and asked Gary if he was going to support Ile-a-Crosse. And that was, I feel like 2005. So it's being mindful of all of those things that government says and holding their feet to the fire. That's the job. So those are the three audiences that we developed the communication strategy for.
Yeah, and so when you're talking to different audiences, your messages are always slightly different. Obviously, your goal is the same. We're seeking justice, we're seeking recognition, and we're seeking compensation. But the way that that message is delivered is always a little bit different depending on who you're speaking to. So the way that you speak internally may not work with when you're talking to government, especially when you're talking to a government like the provincial government here in Saskatchewan that is so resistant to actually having a conversation and a dialogue. So it requires a much more forceful approach, but also a little bit of a nuanced approach to communications. That's where the external communications also comes into play. We focus our external communications as a means of both educating the general public, but also kind of a call to arms, making them feel compelled to write to write Premier Moe, to write Justin Trudeau, and get them to come to the table. Because without that kind of external push, sometimes these politicians feel like they can get away with things and that they don't need to actually come and work with you. So that's why we're focusing on this 3-plank strategy rather than just focusing on one. All 3 planks are important. They all work together, and ultimately they will get us to our goal of getting you this compensation, the justice, and the recognition that you so rightly deserve.
So that was our presentation. Does anybody have any questions for Matt too?
Yeah, we're calling Matt back up on the stage to answer questions as well. And if there are no questions, we are fine with that too. Oh, I think there are mics. So.
Terrible. Hi, my name is, can you hear me? My name is Jackie Bouvier. I'm a survivor of Ile-a-Crosse Residential School and Beauval. Third generation survivor. My mom was in Beauval, Ile-a-Crosse, and my grandma. I am wondering, when you're doing the interviews, is there support in place to the elders when you're taking the oral history? Is there support there?
I'm just going to invite Matt up too.
Thanks for the question. Yes, we have health supports all throughout the conference, and they're going to be with us in the room today as well.
Now, when you're doing interviews, do you have a person sitting there? I did an interview with TRC for an hour. They had health support right there.
So I'm also a social worker as well, and I have experience in counseling. And so that is one component that Matt and I have been able to do with interviews in the past, but there is a health support here that we'll be utilizing.
Okay, another question is, when we talk to the Premier or the Trudeau, you're saying that we have to do it in a certain way, not like English is a second language to me. I speak Michif and Cree. So my English is not always that good. So you're saying that we have to do it in a certain way to bring it up to?
Not at all. We actually have had people do interviews in Michif and in Cree, and we just didn't show any of them, but we have to get them translated because the work that we just did it 3 weeks ago, but you can be interviewed in any language that you like, that you're comfortable in, and we can have that translated.
Okay. Still.
Just want to clarify what we were talking about for audiences. So that's the general communication strategy. So that's sort of the products that we're making. So those are the formal communications products, the website, the letters, the press releases. So those are tailored to different audiences. We would never dictate how or tell you how to share your story with politicians. In terms of the advocacy and the communications advocacy, you can be assured that we are thinking about that and we're focused on that. So you can just be sharing your story in whatever way and means you feel comfortable in.
Because when you were speaking, you were saying internal, external. It went right over me.
I apologize, and that's why we wanted to open it up to questions.
That's just me. Maybe the other people.
No. If we wanted to open it up to questions so we could clarify anything we were saying. So please be assured, share your story in whatever means and way that you feel comfortable with. It'll be so powerful in that way, and then we will be working in the background, ensuring that we're having conversations with government to push them forward and propel them forward to do the right thing.
Okay, thank you.
Look.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Ano to man ay kapitak niya kung si conference kapituhtiya. Bisa to man nagigtapah tino apunya man Mr. to kay tuhtian conference kayahti. Tas kut man nagutagaw ipiwis tamago ya. That's not the case here. Yugunugig niya na games kawa ko. Tawitatus game ko. This is part of your government. What I said in my language is the people that you see in front of you work for the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. Our staff have done a great job in bringing the right people to tell our stories. And the story that we're telling right now about the survivors in Ile-a-Crosse, these are the people that we work for the nation to be able to get the right tools. Even if you can put back that slide that was up there. It was on there with the three, yeah, that one. Internal, that's with your fellow Métis citizens, survivors, and MNS. That's us, Kiano. That's us. And when you start talking about external, they have to have a plan. Kiano, what is our plan? What is our visioning? What is our story? Kiwen magawe ato tamahiano tapista ko the outside world, even the general public, Canadians in general, tapista ko general public, both in Saskatchewan and across Canada. Bisa toma na yung anut ni gawe kiano apuso ni aska mi gausia imusimi siktetu. You know that you have every right as survivors kiyo to be able to get capacity from the federal government. But at the same time, our government has every right under Section 35 rights to be able to get the dollars, to be able to prepare ourselves and create a government that addresses our issues. And that's why we've hired certain individuals that are experts in their field. Same with government, the federal, provincial governments. The governments, we've signed an MOU, framework, core governance agreement, legislation to follow. That is our government, Kiano, your government. And that's what we've been doing in the last 5 years. And as we began to grow and bring in the right parts in regards to how we're going to tell our story, it's a powerful tool what we're doing in regards to the voices they can hear from you, in regards to what your thoughts are. What are you thinking? What has gone on in your life? To be able to hear Robert when he said, I got lost, grade 9. I wanted to be a trapper. I wanted to be a fisherman. But you misled me. Where am I going now? Yet we're not recognized as people. Well, these stories and the people that are doing the stories with you and tell it to the world, Canada and governments. So we try as much as we can as your government to be able to hire the right people, to be able to get attention from the rest of Canada, the Canadians and governments, and tell our story, your story. So when you're seeing people out there, that is part of our government. So don't feel as if you're talking to somebody out there. You're talking to us, your government. You're speaking for yourself within our government. They're a part of our government. Thank you very much. If I can just, I just want to add on. I went to the Paris to speak at the UN, and I went to New York to speak on the language file. There's planning already going on with our government. We're taking this to the UN. Your story is going to be heard. People talk about the UN Declaration. The UN Declaration is a floating document. If we don't have a government like what we have right now, that document doesn't do nothing for us. But it has to be based on something, which is our government, our different ministries, the issues of our people. So these stories that they're gathering, and you're telling your story, that's going to be heard by the world. And we're going down there next month, I believe. And I so look forward to that, to represent you at the UN, to be able to speak and to be able to have that space that they're allowing us to have, to hear your voice. Thank you very much.
Salutina, Julius Parkushi, Mitya Tuti Deneslina, there than a Harkonas in day, than a Hadai night, a by Tihil Chua, a look at the delay, a Denesutine, Hayori Lana Day, Kosi, Obanut Aho, a Tanigadol Niha, at the Tihil Chu, a Ditanda Tigani, at the Watora Ase. At the way a tidal in the hours had tazot in it by a tidal ha. Aya, or Karnastana, the Masino Hanastana, Yatihulchu, a Tibetor, the Allah, Nadoha. Aya, my name's Julius Park. I'm originally from Ile-a-la-Crosse, and I'm thankful that you're gathering data about the survivors, and on behalf of the Dene people, Denesutlin people. I just want to ask about, is there going to be an opportunity to go to the Dene communities on the northwest side of in northern Saskatchewan here to gather the stories from the Dene people? And I know a lot of the elders would probably be comfortable speaking in their own language and to have somebody to interpret what they're saying. And I think it'd be, a good to share some information about if that's going to happen, when would that happen, and who would be the contact person, all that kind of things. So I just wanted to share that in terms of, I know we got lots of information from Ile-a-Crosse, and sorry, okay. Do I have to repeat it again? No. Anyway, just an opportunity to collect data and to hear from the Dene people in the Dene communities, and going back to understanding the language, and also to speak, interpret what they're saying, to share their stories. So I just wanted to ask about that. Merci, Chuck.
Personally, I think it's a wonderful idea. We can chat about it later, but I definitely be game. Absolutely. I think there's a list of. There's a list of eight.
I have the other mic. Does anybody need the mic brought to them?
Okay. So they need to write off the list. J Mac has it. He says before we go on break. Okay. He's got.
Well, with that, we'll probably close. Oh, one question. I'm so sorry.
I'm sitting down because my leg is have broken, my big leg. And this is Lawrence Bourne. I'm a board member here, and we've been working on this boarding school since 1994. I started collecting names for the boys, and I see a few of them here, like Frank DeRocher, Happy Young, and in Palm Bear we started that, and we've been collecting names for over 35 years. And we seem to be getting stuck all the time on that province. The province won't communicate or won't help us, And it's pretty hard for us because we're always, we're stuck there with Brad Scott Moe, eh? And I don't know, maybe people are racist. Sometimes I think they're more racist than anybody else, any premier I ever seen. But maybe that's what we have to tell them, because they send workers to us and they send people there, and we can't accomplish nothing. And the federal government is willing to help us, and everything is being done with the federal government, and they're sitting at the table with us, and it's so hard. We can't get anything from the province, and we need the province. I don't know. We need the province because the First Nations, they didn't have the province with them till after they signed the treaty or whatever, because the federal government should just overrule. If they overrule the Saskatchewan government, and then we'll be in the clear, and then everything, our settlement agreement will be accomplished. And it's so hard, and our people are getting old, and a lot of them have passed away through COVID, through different diseases, and diabetes, and cancer, and dementia, and Alzheimer's, and it's so hard for our people. And I made a list here too of the people that passed away in the last 5 years, and there's been over 100, eh? And always pray for them. And another thing too is I wanted to clarify that we keep blaming each other, and we keep talking, we're jealous of people and stuff like that. We have to work on these emotions, because our people get mixed up, and then they start fighting and everything else. And especially our kids today, there's so many of them are committing suicide, and that's what really hurts me. My sister passed away. Then her baby girl passed away too, Jolene, eh? And I just cried because it's probably traumatized. They're traumatized from intergenerational, and it's still out there. And the only way we can help each other is we have to do it as a family, or together. We have to work together for the kids. But we have sweat lodges and all that, and to help us. Help me, but everybody's different, eh? Everybody is different. They think different. They heal different. And sometimes we miss our young people because we don't talk to them. Nobody communicates with them. They feel alone and all that. And now we have different programs that are starting to help them. And hopefully that something really is done. And I really feel bad about, especially for the kids, young kids that are doing that, and it's so damn hard, and hopefully we get the settlement agreement and everything with the lawyer, and I'm happy that we have a judge appointed there at King's Bench now. And we can go ahead with this procedure, I think, on April the 10th. And we're moving forward in that direction. And another one is that merchant. He's been in there. He must be a leech or something. I don't know, a Jew. He's been in there so long, and we can't get rid of him. He just wants money, eh? And maybe we can get somebody to talk to him or get rid of him or whatever, but slowly we're trying to get rid of him, eh? And it's really hard for us to do all this stuff because the lawyer doesn't want to communicate with us, and the provincial government. So maybe we should just move ahead with this federal government, and this is federal jurisdiction. So just wanted to find out. Thank you.
All these people have to go to reception because someone has lost a Queen's Jubilee medal,
and Jason asked we could read because they all have to go to regular reception.
Okay, just I was thinking about the residential school survivors. I think the reason they came here is hopefully the issue of Ile-a-Crosse residential school will be resolved soon. And I think different strategies are being put forward here. I think what I'd like to see is more residential school survivors up in the stage there, even telling their stories. You know, why is everybody up in the stage telling us and doing without any survivors there? I think that's one issue. The other one is the provincial government are still treating us as residential school. They cut our trees, put the uranium mines. There's a National Supreme Court of Canada ruling says you have to consult with the rights-bearing people, which Métis are rights-bearing people, First Nations and Inuit. And they're just doing whatever they want to do without our consent. And then they passed the Saskatchewan First Act, which says the Saskatchewan government now owns all the land and resources. You have no business to come and intercede to the federal government. That's what they're trying to say, because they lost their case on carbon tax. That's all it's all about. And so why are they fighting? Are they going to, they're not supportive of climate change. If they're going to be fighting carbon tax, they're trying to sell more oil. Conservative leader is trying to sell more oil to Europe, and Europe is saying, well, we don't want oil, we want that hydrogen to come. And so all this stuff that's happening, we're not a priority right now. But the federal and provincial governments, they always seem to talk about. Mark Miller was in Batoche. I'll try and resolve the issue with the provincial governments by September. We haven't heard back. Catherine Bennett came to Ile-a-Crosse, knocked a brick out of the wall of the old residential school. We're still waiting. We try and resolve this as soon as we can, they said. And they're just coming there to lie to us. So are they serious? Or maybe we have to look at taking them right to the United Nations World Court. Maybe we have to take the Canadian government, because they're the ones that made the residential school policy. John A. MacDonald made that. And maybe we should take the churches to the court too, for the way they treated us. That's why we're trying to negotiate, to avoid that. But if they don't want to negotiate, we have options. Options is we can go to the United Nations and charge them in a world court for the way they treated us. We're not, the treatment we had was bad, and it had a generational impact. My parents were there. We had generational impact to me. I was in the residential school. My children, my daughter is sitting here, my grandchild is sitting here. And intergenerational impact on them. When are they going to stop? You know, how many years we've been talking? I know Don Fable was believing it, and he went to the apology in Ottawa. I seen Clem Shorty there, Don Fable, and a few other Métis people were invited, but there was never any residential school for Métis that was accepted. Truth and Reconciliation Commission never made any recommendations for Métis because they didn't go to the Métis community to consult with the residents of survivors. We've been left off everywhere. So the point I'm trying to make is, Why do they keep leaving us off? Why can the federal and provincial government get together? They're just playing games. The federal government knows the provincial government won't come on side. Why put a clause there? And then by putting that clause, that means, okay, they'll blame the provincial government. So they don't have to deal with us. So we get serious. That's what's happening here. Quit playing games with our lives. Are you guys going to resolve this? Or are we going to continue just talking and the provincial government doesn't come on side? We won't be able to deal with their claim. That's the issue here. We're not going to continue coming to these meetings and have hope. And our hope is broken because nothing is being done. We're tired of it. I'm sorry to say that, but people are dying. My brother-in-law was 82 years old, just passed away a few months back. I hope they settle the residential schools soon, he said. People are dying every week from a lot of our northern communities. The Denny communities too, yeah, they're right. The Denny communities are lost. Turner Lake, Dillon, St. George, Michelle Village. All of them people were in that residential school in Ile-a-la-Crosse. Before Bill C-31, all of them were Métis. Some got their status back. And like our Vice President said yesterday, the Federation of Saskatchewan Indigenous Nations unanimously support Ile-a-Crosse Residential School. Our MNLA through the Métis Nation unanimously support Ile-a-Crosse. They also unanimously support the Northwest Land Claim. But are we moving, or what? How many more people have to die? Like I said earlier, my father was in the Second World War. They were denied any kind of benefits when they came back out of the Second World War. Everybody except the First Nations and Métis were given programs like housing, land, education, a grant to start a business. Our Aboriginal and veterans were denied that. And guess what they did? They waited till all of them died. All of a sudden they said, yeah, we'll give a program for the veterans that were denied benefits. But all of them were dead. Even the families can't get anything. My dad died in 2000. The agreement was signed in 2016. You had to be only dead 3 years in order for your family to benefit, they said. We had one veteran in the Northwest side where hundreds and hundreds of people had signed up for the First World War, Second World War, and Korean War voluntarily. But all of them got old and passed on. One veteran left. He got it anyways, and we're thankful for that. Oh. Is that the plan here? Is that what you want to do, is wait till all of us die? And then they'll try and settle the agreement? Let's move. Come on. We're tired of waiting. Take them to court if you have to. We're trying to negotiate, and they're playing games with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Max.
Hello.
Hi.
Look over here, everybody. Good morning, everybody. My name's Richard Martial Desjardins, and I'm a true Métis from the north. I speak 4 languages, and I believe in spirituality. I believe in our homeland, and I believe in unity, togetherness, And it's so nice to see our Métis brothers and sisters here. Some are modern made treaties, I guess. But our forefathers were the true owners, the true landowners. I don't know about owners, but they utilized the lands, the waters, everything that made us who we are today. Gwen nga ni hewan upsis. Apotin nga shuguptin. Man nga gutsan. Aya, mutyo magiwit no gawig ya gutusus pito siya pi tagupeya. Some of us hitchhiked, some of us caught a ride in advance. And it seems that we all struggled to get here one way or another because most of us were broke. We had to pawn off our power saws, sell our traps, sell our nets to get here. So it wasn't easy, but we made it. And then we had to wait for a whole day before we got paid. But we're still happy this morning. We're laughing and joking, and I used to see that in the Dene people, in the Cree people, in the half-breed people, and also the Europeans, immigrants. They laughed. They shared stories of their triumphs and their trials in life. And it's so awesome to see it. Like this morning, we had a whole bunch of people who were laughing, shaking hands, meeting each other, never seen each other for years. Last time you seen some of these people was in a residential school and you were 4 or 5 years old. And many of us changed. And we went through lots. Alcohol was the main culprit in our lives. And to this day, it's still plaguing our communities. And the federal government, the province, they overruled our jurisdictions on our lands, on our traditional territories that we were brought up in. The justice system works against our people every day. The judges they bring, we don't even know. They don't know nothing about us. But they follow the book, the rule of law, they call it, to overrule. They separate our communities. They separate relationships. They attack our people. They even came onto my house with weapons. They attacked me because I fished in a closed area. The provincial government closed an area. They took over from the local people. Maskatu itoga kigoy. No chazi ayo si no kanad de oagot lazi. The province. The province is our main culprit right now. When I see I go to courts, provincial court day, I see our people there. And they have no real representation. We don't have lawyers. We have court workers, but they're not fully educated. They want to control us so bad. They even put a gun to your head. Basically, they approached my house when they stepped out of the truck, big 4x4s, green ones. There's dogs in the back. just because I fished in a closed area to try to feed my family and put some bread and butter on the table. Many of us went through that. They took away guns. Some of them weapons are just for hunting rifles are taken away, never to be seen again. And those rifles are from family passed on from your mushrooms and your zapans, however you want to put it, but they're valuable. Our fishing nets now are rotting away in tubs. We can't fish no more. Our fishing industry went down. There's all kinds of things that we have to get together as northern people and start defending our homeland. As original inhabitants of these lands, we're apitogo anak. We're original peoples of those lands. Matigwan na tuagwi tuti ta tuta maputa mamuatuskia nantu seta sukhita ma tamati mamu ni poya. Palm Bear, kamas katuitak aski. Let's not take land away from each other or fight against each other over land and waters. Let's make a stand as original peoples of the North. The majority of us here are from the North. We can use our elders. They have stories. Let's draw a map and push those and come up with our own constitution, our own bylaws, and start sitting at the table with the province or whoever. But we can maybe overstep the province and go directly to the federal government. This is what we got. Signed, sealed, and delivered. We have to. I think that's the direction we have to go. Not to bring out your guns, your hunting rifles, but to stand there firm and solid as original people. You know, it's sad to see our people standing, all alone, being charged by the province. I stood there all alone. I felt all alone. People are afraid to stand up, but I'm not afraid because I have the Great Spirit watching me. Every one of us, my forefathers, my mushrooms, my kukums, right across this land. Where did the Jardins come from? Where did, the short cheese, where did they come from? Right across this country, Canada. The North, they're going to be making roads right across the North, right to Hudson's Bay from BC on a Precambrian shield. They're going to do it. So we got to get ready for that too. Let's get in there. If we want, let's start training our people to do studies, monitor the progress. Let's monitor our animals, our bugs, our plants, our everything. Let's start thinking. Start thinking right. We are the future. We are. When our forefathers stepped on these lands, they thought about us. Now we got to think about them. Our future generation. Pride, solidarity, unity, decision-making abilities, and to stand on those decisions that we make. Let's utilize our elders, their knowledge. Let's sit down and draw a map of what we want. Let's name our lakes, what they were called, that our mushrooms called. those lakes and rivers and inlets and channels and a little spot, a little bay. They used to have a little name, a little bay smaller than this room. They had a name for it. It was a meeting place, special gathering spots all over the north. Matigwa. Let's go home. Let's start meeting in the north, our home. Let's meet in Ile-a-Crosse. Let's meet in Beauval. Let's meet at Black Point. Let's meet in Pachinak halfways. We got boats. We got skidoos. We can get tents. We got logs. Let's make structures all over. Tell your children to start making cabins anywhere. Help them with the boat and motor. I can go on and on and on, but I thank you all for listening to me. And I believe in my people. I always will till I get thrown in a hole. And I love you all. And I say it with sincerity. You say it now. You know I need to. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful words there. We started off the morning, and I'm kind of lost here as the MC because I feel sad for them getting stuck up there. But at the same time, we started off the morning wrong. We should have started with a prayer, which I overlooked. It wasn't on a program, and I didn't follow. I mean, I should know that we always need to start off with a prayer. But before we do that, can we give them a round of applause and maybe dismiss them, because I know you're nervous up there. And then we'll continue with the questions. First, I want to get Tony Lemaigue out of La Loche to say an opening prayer, which should have happened before we got started. But before anything gets going here, Tony's going to sing or pray for us.
You can all stay seated, it's okay. The good Lord let us sit down too, we can sit and pray. You know, part of our healing moving forward, a big part of it from my own experience is forgiveness. If everyone in this world acted the way God wanted us to be, we will be moving in loving atmosphere, loving words, loving kindness, every person on earth. But because of power, greed, there was a lot of abuse that happened and is still happening today. So as part of my healing, I had to come to terms with acknowledging that the way God wants me to be is to be loving and to laugh lots. So I started singing this song. I call it Psalm 23. I got it off His Word. So I want to sing that for you. Maureen, can you hold this for me? Thank you. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He make me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for His name's sake. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadows of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. Thou prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anoint my head with oil, my cup ran over. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. Masi.
Thank you so much for that. I think we have more questions, so we're going to just keep our comments. Jordan?
Yeah, I have a question for the crowd. How are you guys doing? Good? Nabarya? I don't know how to say that in Cree. Real poor freaking Nihi out here. But
Nazoo.
well, I just wanted to share, just based on that communication session, gathering your stories and being able to share them with the world is really, really important to us. And this morning when I got here, I went and sat in the corner, Chuck standing over there, but we were telling stories. And we were talking about this session that we just had, and we were talking about storytelling, and the winter time being that time when we share our stories, whether it be about like creation stories, which we sucky Chuck, all of these stories that we grew up with. And I was just wondering, this is a question for all you guys. This isn't a question for them, but more of like a takeaway for our communications team and for us. But if anybody's interested in incorporating those teachings and incorporating, like bringing in how we tell our stories, they were talking about, they have their camera, they have these platforms, like we have Facebook, Instagram, all of these things, but how do we tell our stories? That's what we want to know from you guys. So come in and talk to this team, come and talk to us, and let us know like how you want us to be able to share that. Because, the government can say, well, you need to send us this letter, you need to talk to us in this way, but how do we want to talk to them? How do they have to meet us to hear what we have to say? That's what we really have to bring out, is who are we and how do we show who we are and what we want to share. And I think you guys really are so powerful, and I don't know if you understand the power that you carry. And that's what we're bringing you together here for, is to really like honor your power and make you feel like what you have to say is important. It's so, so, so important. And so this communication session was honestly one of the biggest pieces for me, to be able to learn from all of you, like how do we bring this in a really, really good way so that people understand not only your pain, but all of the goodness here. Because imagine if all of those politicians that had to make that decision were here today to feel this. We feel good, right? I feel good. I feel good being here. I feel really kind of emotional sometimes, but I feel good, right? So how do we bring that out to the world? That's what I want to know. And I think there's a lot of sharing that kind of happened here on the few mics, and that's good. We want to take those moments for questions, but at the end of the day, at 3:15 to 4, that's your time to share. We really encourage you guys, take that time to share those stories, to ask the hard questions that maybe you missed. So I just wanted to bring those out. Willis has one more comment or statement, and then we have a break until about 11:05. So.
Thank you. Masi Choner Hussein, Glenn McCollum, Julius Yailtiu, Dennis Utlina. I know Matt, I hope they add some Dennis Utlina to the video. But I just want to say to everybody, over 2 years now, I've been a language podcaster, sharing Dene stories and traveling to wherever. And I hear a lot of pain, frustration from everybody. The goal here is, from my understanding, to share your stories. But I've come across so many people, Dene Utlina people, that are afraid to share their story because they feel they don't have an education. I'm going to tell you, I'm in university now. There's so many people paying the universities for what you guys have in here. Those stories should be told. They should not be held in. There's people expressing, some might be gone in 5 years. So now we have those stories that are being told and documented so we can share with young people like myself. See, I never intended to be a language revitalization, but I'm thankful for this journey, man, and thankful for all of you for sharing your story so we can continue on. There's young people that don't know their language. Well, we can leave them with something by you guys sharing your story. Whether it's being shy or you need some guidance, I'm sure the MNS has provided everybody the support they need to get through this, as Glenn talked about here earlier. And I'm really thankful the MNS has incorporated everybody, the Dene, the Métis, the Michif. It's really cool to see. As a Dennis Utlina from La-Loche, Saskatchewan, I'm always used to hearing Cree everywhere. Now I get to hear my own language. In the future, they'll get to hear your story, your language. The young people will get to hear your story and your language. And then they'll be proud to see that. So masi cho salatina, and enjoy your day.
Okay.
Okay, Mark. Very interesting point you brought up. A lot of us are shy or afraid to be able to speak out. Sometimes what he said was, we're not educated. I get emotional when I talk about me as an individual. I think about my father, I think about my mother, I think about my grandfather and my grandmother. They didn't know how to speak English. My dad went to school, but my grandfather, Tom Nadamogan, my mom's dad, couldn't speak English. Same with my grandmother. But when we talk about language, we sit here as Indigenous people, Métis and First Nation, around the group today. We have our education. Be proud of that. When you speak your Dene language, when you speak your Cree language, or whatever language you speak, be proud of it. You don't have to base it on mainstream, status quo, university, or anything. Base it on you. When I speak, I'm proud of who I am. You got Dene language, or the song that we heard today, the Dene prayer we had yesterday. That is you. It has nothing to do with the outside world in regards to who you are as an individual and what you speak. Your language is important. To never forget that. Don't base it on somebody else. If there's non-Indigenous people sitting around, and I spoke in this hall with 400 or 500 people, I spoke my language. A lot of people don't understand our language, but That's okay. That's your problem, not mine. So when we speak from your heart. Speak what you believe. Speak for you. Speak for your community. Speak for your family. Kawayani Piusig. Don't be shy. Don't hesitate. Be strong, confident. The mainstream has taken our spirit away a lot of times through residential schools and generational effects of residential school. But that has to stop. And who's going to stop it? You. Because I've stopped it. So be proud of who you are, your language, your family, where you come from, and speak from your heart. Speak loud. Thank you.
Okay, Marcy for those good words. Thank you everybody for sharing this morning. When I was sitting in a corner here observing, I think what we needed would have been ideal, would have been a panel up here of people that could have answered some questions. But that's maybe something to think of. I don't know if we can pull it through for tomorrow, but maybe it's a thought. Because yesterday, to question and answer time, Dwayne and I were left here to answer, and we don't have the answers because we haven't been involved with the whole movement other than we are survivors of Ile-a-Crosse boarding school too. But something to think about. And the discussion now has started. Your heart's been opened. Now it's time for us to start talking. And I see it and I felt it right here in this room this morning. Now you have an opportunity to go to the breakout sessions. This is what the rooms are there for. They're smaller. They're smaller rooms. Like they mentioned, don't be shy. I mean, you're not comfortable sharing in a big room like this. We have small rooms that are available for that. You can have one-on-one counselors here that are here right now. The ones that have orange lanyards, they're sitting in the back wall there, give a wave. Those are our mental health workers. And we have some all over the room. If something has triggered you, Kigwe kemam tunihtina wao may pihtami kung magikagik sipayak. Kemam tunihtina wao kigwe gistawagi pispeyik. Kaitah kuna mokyegwan matagiwih tatayik utanagatamok. Talk about it. Leave it here with us. We have breakout sessions right after this. So you guys are welcome to a break. But before you go, there's trauma and healing in Gallery D. Language and culture, Vince Henneque and Julius Park, the Dene and the Michif language, together they're powerful stuff. Survivor Circle, Chuck McCallum is holding that. That's an awesome opportunity to come and share your pain, your suffering, and your stories. But those of you that missed yesterday or wanted to ask a question why? I just realized I'm holding two microphones here. Those of you that have a question for the lawyers, this is your last chance. Well, it's not your last chance, but for the conference here, your last chance, and they have to fly out, I think. They're going to be in Salon A and B right here. So if you have a question you need to ask. In Gallery A, we have Know Your History, Unmarked Burials. That's where you can go and talk to people. There's people everywhere. We have a massage therapist. We have an energy healer. We have people like, I'm sure, like Tony LeMay, who was here. You know what I mean? I'd go to Tony if I have a problem because I know her and I trust her and I love her and I know she won't judge me. So we have other resources. We have each other. Don't take your pain home with you. Try and leave it. Lighten your burden, please. That's what you're here for. As survivors of Ile-a-Crosse boarding school, we're here to help you heal. We're healing with you. We're part of the whole process. So let's start our healing journey. Let's try and put the politics aside and let's really focus on our heart and our healing. And part of that is our story, our language, our culture, our identity. It's all mixed together with that. Please visit some of the people, visit our some of the breakout rooms. With that said, at lunchtime, when I went out here looking for Tony to come and say prayer, I realized there's a whole bunch of Muniawak wearing suits. I thought, wow, somebody sent for the politicians from Ottawa. Apparently, there's another conference, I think on engineering or something. So what we're asking you at lunchtime, when you grab your plates, come back into the room here and eat here, please. Because there's going to be or we don't want to lose any of you to the other side. Okay, with that, have a wonderful morning and please go to a breakout session or visit each other. There's a visiting room available too. Which room? I can't remember. Jordan, do you remember which the room is for visiting? Right now, you can take a break, grab some coffee, go for a smoke break, and then go to a session, please, or visit. Marcy.
Masicho, good morning, everybody. How is everyone enjoying the gathering here this morning? Tuning in from everywhere. Let us know where you're tuning in from. It's always good to see people where they're coming in from. You know, the social media world allows us to be anywhere and be able to attend these conferences, get the information that we need. It's always important. You know, this is I'm gonna do the majority in. You'll get to hear some Dene speaking, but just to be all inclusive for everybody that's watching at home, I know it's shared on multiple pages. You know, the information. Everybody is going to be going into a breakout. I'm gonna try to get into one of the breakout rooms with a camera, so we will be able to listen in on one of them. I'm just going to go over the agenda here this morning for today. There's trauma and healing. Maybe I can get everybody to decide here. There's trauma and healing, language and culture. That was one of the ones that I was going to go into. Survivor's Circle, Chuck McCollum, a legal overview with Waddell Phillips, and then No History, Unmarked Burials. So those are the breakout sessions here this morning, and I'm going to bring it to one of the, I believe, maybe sharing the language and culture is because the Mitchif and Dene, they're going to be presenting there. So that's what I'm going to be doing here this morning. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us here this morning to, witness people come together and share their stories and everything they're feeling about what this means to them to be acknowledged. You know, it's been a long time coming, as you heard in one of the videos in the beginning. Michelle Leclerc at the press conference at Ile-a-la-Crosse is the second oldest community in Saskatchewan, and so this school has been operating for well over a couple hundred years. Of course, it is gone now, but that is a long time to go without being acknowledged as a people that they were put through the atrocities. You know, a lot of abuse that people talk about there, and there's always good stories and bad stories. You know, a lot of people coming together and share. They maybe haven't seen each other for a while. They're all that good stuff. A lot of visiting going on here this morning. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hand it. Let's see what they got here in the camera. But it is 11 o'clock. Everybody is taking a break. I'm going to see if I can get somebody in here to interview. And stay tuned. I'm going to try to do that as much as possible here throughout the day and get in one of the breakout rooms. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining us here this morning. No history, eh? History? Unmarked burials. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can, if it is possible here, because there's different rooms. I don't know if there's a couple levels in the building, but I would be interested to hear what the people have to say. I'm gonna see if I can get somebody to help me out with this. But so far, let me know what you guys think of the morning session here. You know, it's always important, and if you want me to pass on any of this information from you, I know there's a lot of people here that went to the Ile-a-Crosse residential school, and they're not able to attend, right? So this is a good way for you to be a part of. Maybe some of you at home might be part of the lawsuit, right? Who is waiting, being acknowledged and compensated, right? So a lot of information is going around here over the next 2 days. There are 2 breakout sessions, one this morning and one this afternoon. It's going to be a lunch at 12 o'clock, and then it's the same breakout sessions for the afternoon as well. So you can pick one now and then go to another. Just got to make it possible here. Me, I'm all alone. I'm all alone in this operation here. Uh, but make sure you comment what you guys think. If you have any questions that you want me to ask, I can definitely pass that on to some of the presenters here, or ask a question openly, the comments later on this afternoon. And if I do cut off, I will definitely be back. We'll be definitely be gone for lunchtime. So I'm going to see if I can get some people to interview here this morning. Anybody, we're going to be going. I'm just trying to signal somebody here to. See if I can get somebody in. Ask why LaLoche isn't part of the lawsuit. LaLoche is part of the lawsuit. There's people from LaLoche here at this conference. Lots of people from LaLoche here. It's not about which town, which, you know. I know they had mentioned there was a day school. That might be something separate that than to the Ile-a-Crosse residential school. So very good question, you know, to clarify anything. Some people might feel left out, you know, in the lawsuit. Some people might not feel a part of, and that's what everybody feels from the Ile-a-Crosse boarding school, the residential school. That's a very good question there, Vicky. So that would be something for someone in the community to take initiative and start talking, start the process, whatever it may be today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will be right back. I'm going to go see what is going to be happening here and see if we can get into one of those rooms here. So stay tuned. And I can take a little break, come on back, take a break off the feed if you want, and then I'll be back here shortly. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Dante. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So we're back here, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to do a quick update here. There's going to be a legal team in here in the main area, a legal team. So the legal team for the MNS and the survivors legal team, they're going to be doing a presentation here this in the main room. So I'm going to leave it on that just to get if there's any questions or people are interested at home, what they want to know that the legal team is doing. So I'm going to leave it on that here. It's going to get started in a few minutes. So stay tuned. Make sure you go and share the live video. Tell all your relatives, your cousin, your aunts, your uncles, what is going on here, and they can tune in to anything that is going on here. So thank you very much. And once we get started, I will put it on the main stage here. So thank you.
One of the other questions that people have asked is how you can identify yourselves to us so that we know that you're part of the survivor group. There are a number of ways that you can do that. The first, for those that are technology savvy, from our website, which was posted yesterday, and it's simple. It's www.waddellphillips.ca. There's a button for contacting us. You can fill in a form to say you're a survivor. You can call us on our firm phone numbers. You can email us, marg@waddellphillips.ca or john@waddellphillips.ca or Tina, our other partner, at waddellphillips.ca. We'll take letters, of course. People can send us mail saying I'm a survivor and this is who I am. And any other way that you want to reach out to us, you can reach out through the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan and ask them to pass on your name and contact information if you're not comfortable with electronic communications to us. And we'll take all that information and we'll compile it into a list of people who we know are survivors and intergenerational survivors and use that as part of our negotiations with the government and in order to communicate with you. On our website, for those of you who are tech savvy, we have a page that's dedicated to this claim, and it will be updated from time to time so that there are updates about the litigation. And we'll send out broad communications through the steering committee as well to let people know what's happening. So you can reach out through Métis Nation, you can reach out through the steering committee, and you can get messages to us that way as well as indirectly through our websites or directly to us by telephone. We're happy to hear from survivors anytime and are happy to hear your stories. If you want to share, you don't have to share your stories. You can just identify yourselves as survivors and give us some contact information. Now, as John said, people might have some other questions that have been lingering since yesterday. And we're happy to take those questions now on the microphones, or you can meet up with us afterwards if there's nobody that wants to come and speak at the microphone. We'll be here until about 12:30. About 12:30. Then we have to head out to the airport. So we'll be around, and let us know if you've got any other questions that come to mind.
No, they'll know where you are.
Alrighty, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So it looks like we're going to go right into the lunch hour. During the lunch hour, there's going to be some entertainment. So I'm going to put it on the entertainment, and it'll be on all afternoon, right until 1 o'clock, and then continue on with the breakout sessions. So I will leave the stream on. It'll be all good. So I hope you enjoy it. There'll be 12 o'clock. You'll have some live entertainment. Merci.